So it's a bittersweet moment. It's Monday, January the 2nd, and at my mum's lovely garden near Oxford in England. And the sun is out. I can hear birds, I can see a few birds. Anyway, unfortunately this is the last day of a 8-day trip my family and I have taken back to see my mum in England. And this is a lovely little garden. I say little, it's not little, is it? But it's a lovely garden, and I was hoping to do loads of bird photography, but unfortunately this is about the first sun we've seen in the whole trip. I didn't even get my camera out. I bought chargers and batteries. Haven't need to charge it, haven't need to change the card. I've taken a few shots of the kids, and that's basically it. It's been raining the whole week. We've still had an amazing time, and taking birds was not the priority as a beautiful blue tit up there. So I put these feeders, these have been empty for months. I filled them up when I got back a week ago, hoping that it would attract some birds and I maybe could take some photos. But I haven't seen any all the week. None have come to the feeder. And of course now I'm seeing this beautiful blue tit just up in there. You probably can't get him, but he's up in there somewhere. There he is, he's flitting around the top there. You can hear him anyway. Beautiful bird. And I had so many plans to spend a few hours in this garden taking some pictures, but that hasn't materialised. We are flying back to Okinawa tonight via Taipei, 16-hour flight with the kids, so that's going to be fun. But anyway, I'd planned to do a couple of vlogs from England. I thought I'd get a few hours here and there to pop out. There's a sort of national nature reserve near here, Farmore. I was going to go down there, do a vlog, try and do something in the garden, but it hasn't transpired. I haven't been able to do anything. So yeah, unfortunately gonna have to be next time. I was so looking forward to, taking some pictures of some different birds, but unfortunately not to be. Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Back in Okinawa. It's January the 13th, I think. And it's nice to be back in the Okinawan sun. It's winter time, so obviously the temperatures have dropped, but it's still very nice and there's no humidity. So there's what it says for today, and if you can see that. Anyway, sunny and 24 degrees. And not humid, so that's nice. Anyway, come to a beach. Okinawa's full of beautiful beaches. All the beaches that are good for bird photography are not beautiful. That's kind of good. You can relax in some beaches and not worry about bird photography, and then the ones where you want to take the photos, you're not thinking, I want to lie in the sand here, because they're not particularly beautiful. So I'm at a beach and it's 1:30. I've got to leave at 5 to pick up the kids, so I'm not going to get best light, because the best light's probably 4:30 to 5:30 at the moment, but yeah, we'll leave just before 5. So anyway, let's have a look and see what we can get. Right, I can see some what looks like snowy plovers and possibly ringed plovers flying there. Tell you what, I forgot to put my boots on. That was stupid. So I'm in my so yeah, there's a snowy plover just down there. So really harsh sunlight, not what you want for photography, but with flight photography, which is what I'm focusing on today, you do want those high shutter speeds. So obviously this kind of weather will give me high shutter speeds. So, you want better light, but you want the high shutter speed. So we'll see what we can get. These birds do have a lot of white on them, so that is a danger of them, the colours being blown out. Right, so if you're a regular photographer, wildlife photographer, there's a couple of useful things to have in your car, especially if you go to a lot of beaches and do a lot of shorebird photography like I do. One, you got to have boots, and I am now going to go back to my car and put my boots on, because I don't want to ruin my expensive Nike trainers because I can't be bothered to put the boots on. So I have them in the car permanently. I also have a full wader wetsuit, which if I actually want to go into the water to get closer to the birds, because they're often not as spooked by people in the water than people on the shore. I don't know why, but maybe I use those. But again, I'm kind of lazy and it's a bit of an effort to put it on, but if you've got it in the car, when you are in the mood to put it on, it's there. Another thing is this, which is just a very simple fold out. It's not waterproof, but it's, it dries quickly, and that's great for sitting on the sand or sitting on wet rocks or just sitting on any rocks. Just makes it a lot more comfortable. I got this in what's called a 100 yen shop in Japan, which is the equivalent to a pound shop or a dollar store. Very cheap, takes up no space, folds like that. Very useful to have, especially if you're doing beach photography and you want to put your camera on the sand or you want to sit on the sand. So we're booted up. You have to excuse me, it's really windy today, which might make the audio difficult to hear. So if it is, I apologise. The good thing though is when you're shooting birds in flight, shorebirds in flight, they always take off into the wind. Sometimes they'll double back immediately and go with the wind, but often they'll fly into the wind and with the wind. Because it's very windy today, that can work to my advantage, because they're flying on a windy day, they're flying a lot slower. They're really working harder to fly, to get any distance into that strong wind. And that means they're slower, because shorebirds are usually very fast. So it's easier to get them in the viewfinder and easier to track them because they're going at slower speeds. So in theory, you should be able to get more keepers. It's just so great to be out in a Okinawan winter's day. Beautiful weather, absolutely. It's like an English summer's day basically. There's not a load of birds, but there's definitely some birds. As I said, little ringed plover, snowy plover. We just had two ospreys. There's an osprey over there. He's far away, but just nice to see him. He looks like he's about to dive. He is about to dive. Oh, he just got in. You probably won't see that. Let's go over there, see if I can get some shots. But yeah, so today I want to share some tips, specifically using the OM1 with the Panasonic 100 to 400 for birds in flight. So I get a lot of emails, messages on the different platforms I use. I don't have so many subscribers on YouTube yet, but I still get lots of questions there. But on other forums I use, and Facebook and Instagram, I get a lot of questions about the OM1 and especially this lens. There's so much interested in this lens because one, it's so small. I think that's what really appeals to everybody. If I just shrink it down, and that's tiny for a wildlife photography lens. So there's lots of interest in the lens. Also, used, you can pick them up very reasonable. So there's a huge interest in how they do. And there's lots of differing opinions. Some people say they had one, it was rubbish, they got the Olympus version instead. Other people said the zoom was too stiff, which is a known problem, and this is the second one I held. First one I held, I gave it back after 5 minutes and said, can you get me another one? And this zoom is okay. Not perfect, but okay. But I'm going to go into a little bit about settings today and just some general techniques to try and maximize this setup and show that actually it's pretty capable if you apply the right techniques and settings and know-how. Anyway, just look at this. It's a Friday afternoon. I left work at lunchtime, and it's Friday. So after this, I've got 3 hours of this amazing place on my own, hopefully taking some photos, and then it's Friday. So I'm gonna have a few beers with my wife tonight. So, you know. Type of box I use, and I always used to use the large, but recently I've been using smaller sizes, either small or single, and I think that does get more accurate autofocus and probably gets you more critically sharp pictures. So I mean, I always, with all the settings, with the drive speed and with the focus area, I'm always changing them around. I haven't settled on one exact setting which I think is the best. So I'm always switching around, but recently I try and use a smaller box, maybe the small or the medium or the cross one, and the 25 frames per second SH2, and I think that gets me the most critical shots when doing birds in flight. Don't worry about keeping the box right on the bird, because the bird eye detection, which you have to have enabled, does the rest. So even if the bird, the small box isn't directly on the bird, the eye detection will still pick up the bird, so don't worry about that. As long as you can keep it there or thereabouts, you'll be good. I'm usually on auto ISO, and I have exposure compensation on a wheel. So I have my hand set, see this, on this wheel here where exposure compensation is, and I'm constantly changing that. So if a bird dives into the water, I'll be on 0 compensation, and then if it goes into the sky, because it's a completely white background, the bird gets underexposed. So I'm quickly just do 2 or 3 things on the dial to get it to +1 exposure compensation, so I can get shots with the blue sky as the background, and that just takes practice. The dial is very intuitive, so I know exactly how much it is to do a third or 2/3 or a full stop over compensation, so I don't even need to check, I just know. So I find that works best for me. To auto ISO, I'm usually about 2,500, 3,200 depending on the light. 6.3 is fine. I sometimes go 7.1, 8, but I usually 6.3, and I just have my finger on that exposure compensation dial, constantly changing it depending on where the bird is and what the background is. So I just had 2 ospreys playing around, flying above me. I tried to get some video, but it's so windy, I can barely keep it steady. But so there isn't that much going on here. It's nice to be here. There's no one here, but there isn't a lot going on. Now, usually I'm lazy and I just think, well, it's better than nothing, just stick it out. But I know there's a place about a 7-kilometer drive away, which if I go, there's a lot more people there. I'm probably going to put my waders on, which is a big effort. I don't know about parking. It's just a big effort, but I think I will get better shots there. So as I said, usually I would just be like, oh, forget it, do it another day, but I've still got a couple of hours. I think it's probably worth doing. So I'm going to get in the car, drive that 7 kilometers, hopefully park the car, probably put my waders on and get out, and there'll be more species there. So I'll see you there. Hey, so we're at the second location. There isn't actually anyone here, which is great. A few people, but not many. The tide is going out, so it's low tide, and there should be a lot of waders here. I can't see many big birds. There's usually a few reef egrets around here, but I can't see any today. But small waders, plovers and the such, are very well camouflaged amongst all this. So let's see what we can find. So I've got my waders on, and because I've got my waders on, I've been able to, there's the land and all this water. I've never come out this far before, so I've been able to walk out here because I've got my waders on, and I am able to get on the same level as this sandbank here where all these curlews are. And I come carefully so that I'm not bothering them, but I'm basically, by standing over there before, the sun is over here, so I couldn't get good light, even though it is still harsh. So I've come here and I'm on the same sandbank as them, and yeah. The benefit of using waders, even if you look ridiculous getting them on and you feel ridiculous wearing them, they are a benefit if you're going to come. It's still a little bit high. Another 20 minutes the light will probably start to get better, and then from about 5 to 5:30 will be its peak, but I'll be gone by then. But I'm pretty happy with the day. I saw quite a few nice birds, grey plovers, curlews, ospreys, grey herons, egrets. So it's been really good. I don't know if I've got any good shots because, as I said, the light's so harsh and a lot of these birds have white in them, but sometimes people get too hung up on that. Just if there's a little bit of blown out highlights, it's not the end of the world. So I'll edit some pictures and put them up at the end. I've really been trying to, I'm very conscious of my background, even when I'm doing birds in flight. So basically, when a bird flies, I quickly drop to my knees. Depending on the background, I don't want the sky as a background. Now over there's brown soil, dry sand soil. I want that as my background. So if it's flying, I'll quickly drop to my knees and try, but obviously I lose focus and then I've got to get it back quickly, and I miss a lot of shots. But on the flip side, when I do get a shot, I get that nice background. I don't really want the water as the background, and I don't want the sky. So that's another tip. Try and get eye level, even with birds in flight, if you can. But yeah, hopefully some of the tips you've heard today will help you in the future. sure I'm forgetting something, but yeah, and get some waders. If you read a lot of blogs or watch videos and you see a lot of professional wildlife photographers, they'll tell you, I never go out either, you know, unless it's early morning or late afternoon, and during the middle of the day we don't take photos. Well, of course, that's ideal, and I try to photograph only early in the morning or late afternoon, but a lot of people can't do that. You go when you can, and sometimes that might be from lunchtime till 5 o'clock. So don't listen too much to that. If it's an overcast day, unlike today, that can work. You can still get some good flight shots, but you've got to be careful with the exposure compensation. I am constantly changing that. If it's a white bird and it's bright, I might dial down to try and lessen the highlights blowing. So yeah, don't be afraid to go out, because some people say you shouldn't shoot in harsh sunlight. Ideally you shouldn't, but even if you don't get any keepers, you're still practicing. This camera has so many settings, it's not a waste of time if I'm going out trying different settings, trying different drive modes, trying different focus areas. None of that time is wasted, and you might get a good shot. You never know. The clouds might, the sun might have popped behind the clouds when you get that shot, and the whites not be blown. So anyway, whatever you're doing, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye.